So I have 5 very specific messages to share today. Information that was given to me to be remembered, but also to be recalled or relayed to anyone that may need this information right now. One is not necessarily related to the other, except when we start talking about the heart chakra. I have a heart chakra message last, because there's going to be a lot of detail that goes into understanding this heart chakra message. But first things first, okay, I'm going to title this Psychic Alerts, because like I said, I was alerted to this information and to these messages. So the first message is about burning, right? Smudging and smoke and and doing that whole thing. So there are 5 specific burning essences that I'm going to clear up right now for anybody. So first things first, there's sage, right? And sage is wisdom, right? So when you're burning sage, and this is just suggestion, everything that I'm saying right now is just suggestion. If it resonates, great. If it does not, great. Okay? Sage is wisdom. So when you burn sage, right, you're essentially clearing the way for wisdom and clarity. And you're also burning sage to protect the divine mind, which is your highest knowing, which is your highest consciousness, which is, your wisdom. So burning sage is like calling in wisdom again, or calling in clarity and protecting that higher consciousness, or the space that, that higher consciousness is containing at the time. Okay. And, people have different usages for these things. Like you'll hear people say you use it to cleanse negative energy, and that could be it too, because whatever isn't in alignment with the divine or with wisdom will have to go. You know what I'm saying? But I just wanted to put that out there for anyone else that may need that clarification with sage. The second one is Palo Santo. Okay, Palo Santo is holy wood. All right, now Palo Santo is more specifically used for clearing and cleansing negative or stagnant energy, right? You want to burn that and put it in the corners of the room, okay, to get stagnant energy and stuff out of the way, and to dispel or rebuke certain energies that may interfere with the consciousness or the intention that you're placing in your space, okay? Third is cinnamon. You burn cinnamon to repel, monitor, or leeching energy, okay? And I was told to use the word monitor specifically. So monitoring energy or leeching energy, all right, that vampiric energy, vampire energy, you use cinnamon for that, okay? Bay leaf, you burn. I love when bay leaf burns. Like, it is the most majestic. Bay leaf has the most majestic kind of burn, okay? It just, all right? But bay leaf is for victory over adversity or opposition, and for karma turning in your favor, okay? So one thing about bay leaf is, like, you can write, petitions or certain manifestations or things like that, intentions on that, and then burn it, and it gets the whole, like, it's beautiful. If anybody knows, if you don't, try it out, but be safe. With all of this, be safe, okay? And always have a window open when you are smudging or burning anything for that matter, and always be safe, okay? But bay leaf, again, is for victory over adversity, opposition, and karma turning in your favor, okay? Yeah, because, when you're dealing with adversity and opposition in your life, and say you're dealing with people in particular, like I've said before in my other videos, like, when we're dealing with certain things, it's reflective of a certain kind of illusion or a shadow that we're operating out of as well. So a part of the bay leaf specifically, and the victory part of it, is, claiming, first of all, you're claiming your healing with that victory. So with the karma turning in your favor, it's saying, I'm cleansed and I'm healed from my participation in some type of negative experience. That's what you're saying with that, okay? The last one is mugwort, all right? Mugwort is for repelling negative energies and for psychic protection, like protecting against psychic attacks, specifically with dreams, okay? Or when you're attempting to meditate and those intrusive thoughts and stuff come in. Mugwort is the activation scent, okay, or aroma to dispel all of that energy, okay? Oh, and there's one more too, right? Incense. So real quick with incense, any incense that you burn comes with an intention, right? So the name of the incense is significant, right? Like you burning sex on the beach. Like, why are you burning sex on the beach? Like, yes, it smells good, but I mean, you know, do you have an intention with that? Maybe not. You know what I mean? It just depends on what level of consciousness you're in. And of course, the more, you know, natural burns like frankincense, myrrh, lavender, all of those vanilla, like all of those ones are just that, you know what I mean, for calming the self, regulating the nervous system, bringing to the forefront of your mind your highest knowing. Like that's a part of those more natural scents as well, or those more ancient aromas. But every incense has an intention to it. So when you burn it, you know, it's beneficial to have that understanding and have that knowing that that essence that you're putting out into the air to be consumed, essentially, because you're breathing that in, right? You're consuming that, right? That's a consumption. Like anything that, you know, you breathe, you eat, okay, you drink, like that's something you're consuming. So with that essence and that scent, that aroma in the air, it's good to be as intentional as you can with that. Or maybe you just like the smell, okay? I'm not against people just doing things because that's what they do, because I be doing that. I'm like, I like the way that sex on the beach smells, so I'm gonna burn it because it smells good, okay? But there is intention with that, all right? And that's a real ancient practice with using incense anyway, all right? So that was the first message about burning things, all right? The second one, right, the second message is more so about intuition, right? And you know, when you get that, when you start saying things like something told me to do this or something led me, that something is your intuition, okay? Someone needs to understand that. Like, do not be so dismissive of what that is and leaving it as a mystery, because for a lot of people, those are specific ancestors, specific spirit guides, specific angels that are influencing you and leading you to make certain choices or to look into certain things. So when you're saying things like something is talking to me, something is something, like you're being called to research that. You need to seek what that something is, okay? Seek clarity on what that something is, okay? Like it could be so, you know, slip of the tongue sometimes, you know, when we talk or when we're dealing with people and we're just like, man, something told me to, that's your intuition, babe. That is your intuition. Something is the intuition. Something is spirit. Something is a higher power or a psychic sense that's leading you. Okay? We don't have to leave it as a mystery. We don't have to leave it as something. We can identify these things. Okay? Speaking of psychic senses, right? That's another message, right? Psychic sense comes through with the feeling of chills, right? When you get chills, when you smell certain things. I made a post earlier because it was coming to me like very like heavy this morning. When you get a sign to not have a certain person or people in your life, like there's a certain smell, and it's not necessarily like body odor smell, like armpit smell or nothing like that. Like it's a kind of stale, old, metallic, rusty kind of smell, okay? That you may want to pay attention to if you have not noticed that already, when spirit is leading you away from a certain person or place or people, okay? Like pay attention to that. Or it might be another kind of smell that you may be able to identify, but let's not dismiss those kind of things. Let's not dismiss it as, oh, something didn't smell right or something didn't feel right. Like something is letting you know that there is an energy around that may not be as harmonious or aligned as we may think it is or may want it to be. Okay, so pay attention to that, right? Your psychic sight, like when you feel like you saw something, you probably did. Okay, when you feel like you saw something, you probably did. Okay, or you can see, you know, like when you look at an optical illusion and it's like, it looks like one thing, but you turn your head or you like squint your eyes and it looks like something else. Like a lot of that can be going on too, and do not dismiss that. So when you see something and you're like, oh, that looked like a face, or that looked like some words, or that looked like a number, pay attention to that, okay? Also sounds, psychic sounds, something that you heard but it ain't there. You heard a voice, you heard a bell, you heard a whistle, you heard a ring. Okay, that might be an angel. Ashe, shout out to the angels. Okay, that might be angels communicating with you when you hear things that you know there's no tangible or physical stimulation around to make that sound. Okay. And taste as well, right? Taste is a psychic sense. When you taste something or you get a kind of craving for something, you know what I mean? Like, oh, I want some popcorn. You know what I'm saying? That could be a deity or a spirit as well, okay? All it takes is some research to type in deity of ringing bells or spirit of popcorn, or listen, you can read, there's all types of research out there. Again, take what resonates. If it doesn't resonate with you, if it doesn't make sense to you, then don't try to force it, okay? But the psychic senses do not lie. They lead us to something. We know that we live in a spiritual world, right? Spirit is all, both visible and invisible. That invisible part is not to be taken lightly, okay? Affirm that you are getting your clarity now, right? And what do you need to know right now? Like, especially this is with like if your ears are ringing, you're getting the ear ringing thing and you're not, you might pause and like, you're like, hold on, like, what is that? Okay. In that moment, Spirit says to affirm, what do I need to know right now? And then affirm, I am getting clarity right now. And wherever you're led intuitively from that moment, once that ringing starts to fade out, follow that. Okay. All right. The other message was to let the day unfold. All right. Like, this is anyone that's experiencing like anxiousness or feeling like you always have something to do or that you need to be doing something, but you don't know what to do. Let the day unfold. Let Spirit lead so that you get better acquainted and connected to how powerful it is, right? Allow yourself to be bored a little bit. You might want to skip your routine or skip your schedule if you can. Okay, if you can take a day off, if you have a day off where there's nothing on your calendar and there's nothing for you to commit to or no other kind of obligation, take that day to be led by Spirit. Okay, let the day unfold. Don't try to plan it yourself or take control of the day. Allow your intuition, right, to lead you into whatever activities, and let it be something that's beneficial to you, something that's healthy, something that's safe, something that's enjoyable, that brings up love or brings up generally positive feelings and stuff like that, okay? If you get the urge to call somebody or to go somewhere specific, then do that, because that may be leading you to some other form of clarity that you've been seeking otherwise, okay? It may not even seem like it's related. Like, you worried about what kind of job to get, you know what I'm saying, because you haven't been working, and you take this 24 hours, something say, I don't know, go to a crystal shop. You know what I'm saying? And you go to a crystal shop and then you find a crystal that you resonate with and you start meditating, and then you meet somebody that, you know, is looking for a new employee or something. You know what I'm saying? You never know how something's going to unfold. You know what I'm saying? By following your intuition. And so someone or multiple people are being called to let the day unfold. Okay? Again, you might want to skip your routine. I know people have this thing where it's like, do this every day at this time, and it's like, listen, that's not how the divine feminine moves. Okay, let the divine feminine be free. The part of divine feminine energy is being random as hell. Excuse my language. Okay, divine feminine energy be random. Okay, and you have to allow that randomness some space and time sometimes so that you can come into alignment or get some clarity that you may need about something. Okay, all right. And so this last one. All right, I'm gonna take my time with a little bit more. Okay, if anybody wants more information on this, you go ahead and just send me a message, leave a comment, okay, on anything that I've said so far, because this last one is kind of lengthy, okay? And it's in regards to the heart chakra and just the basic 7 chakras in general. So one message that has been wanting to come out for at least a week now is about awareness and acknowledgement. Okay, when you're aware of your higher self and you acknowledge that you have a higher self, that's a different thing than actually embodying it. Okay, and having a connection and a constant interaction with and through that higher self, right? Just like it's one thing to say you know God or you know a higher power, But it's another thing to have a daily connection and communication with that higher power. It's the same thing with your higher self. Okay, and so when we're dealing with chakras, what we're talking about here is the crown chakra, right? The I know, your highest knowing, right? The higher consciousness. And how the chakras are set up, from what I've understood, right, and how I've practiced really, is the heart is at the center, right? You have your 3 lower chakras. You have the root, you have the sacral, you have the solar plexus, and then boom, halfway point, your heart. Going down, those are your lower chakras, right? Those are your lower consciousness chakras. Like those deal with more so the physical reality, more physical based, and deal with ego attachment, right? You get to the heart, going upwards, you're doing higher consciousness, right? You're dealing with ego detachment, and you're dealing with more spiritual faculties, right? Because from the heart, you get the love, right? You get the compassion, and not just with yourself, but with other people. And from doing shadow work and a lot of self-reflection and introspection with myself, like I've come to understand that when you still have, say, certain solar plexus issues, like control issues, or in the sacral, you have like certain creative blocks, or feelings of lack when it comes to abundance, or feelings of lack when it comes to like resources, or not feeling secure, not feeling stable, even as your being, not just economically or financially, but in the root chakra, not feeling safe to just be yourself, not feeling safe to exist, not feeling secure in your identity with self. Those are all lower chakra issues. So when we say things like, oh, my heart is open, or my heart chakra is open, but you still have those issues, that's not correct. Okay? That's not correct. That's not to say that you don't love yourself or that you don't have a capacity to love. It just means that there's still attachments in those areas that have to be cleared before you actually reach those higher consciousness faculties and are able to work through your chakras in a more higher consciousness way. Let me give you an example of what I mean with this and the blockages in the lower chakras, right? When we awaken sometimes, right? When we have a spiritual awakening, and I know this is true for so many people, one of the first stops to having your third eye open is seeing that the government or the world is an illusion, right? There are certain things that are illusion, or there are certain things that are like mind control. Like you get into that phase, and then you're like, boom, my third eye is open. But that's just like a surface level to what the third eye can actually perceive, okay? And so when we awaken, we think that we're in a higher consciousness sometimes. There's an illusion within it, okay, that we believe that we are in a higher consciousness because we're aware, right? What I say at the beginning, like there's a difference between being aware and acknowledging that you have an ability and then actually embodying it. So with the higher consciousness or the higher faculties above the heart chakra being the throat, the third eye, and the crown, if we haven't detached, okay, from certain ways of thinking and living and being, right, which is subject to your own life experience and your own path, when we haven't detached from those things, we're not really seeing from the third eye or speaking or hearing from the throat or knowing from the crown at the highest we possibly can, right? I hope that makes sense, because this is very complex to try to explain. Okay, so again, it's one thing to be aware that you have these higher faculties, but it's another thing to embody them. And part of embodying them is dependent on the work that we do through the heart, because that's the gateway to those higher consciousness faculties. You just don't automatically get to your highest consciousness because you're aware you have one. It takes work, it takes releasing, it takes healing. And a lot of that takes place in those lower chakras, root, sacral, solar plexus. And then you get to the heart. So I wrote down some like affirmations or statements to maybe potentially help someone or people understand where you may be at when it comes to activating your higher consciousness past your heart. Okay, are you able to say, I can be alone? And I put alone in air quotes because we're never really alone, right? We have spiritual connection, divine connection around us 24/7. But in general, when you're thinking about relationships or wanting to be social and around people, are you comfortable being alone? Right? So these are statements. Can you say to yourself, I can be alone? The second one, I can let go. And this is in regards to any and everything that you may feel like you need to attach yourself to, be it people, places, or things. I can let go. The third one, I am self-validated, or I am God-validated, right? Because our heart is the center of truth, like the most truth, when you make these statements, only you will know how true and honest and real it is, right? So can you say, I am self-validated and I am God-validated, or are you still seeking validation in some way, shape, or form from other people? Okay, and these are the statements of the heart chakra, okay? Again, another one, I am secure. I'm secure in myself. I'm secure in my beliefs. I'm secure in, my lifestyle. Whatever it may be, a sense of security. Can you say that with truth? Okay, because these are the statements, right? This is just my own doing, okay? I'm not looking for anybody to necessarily agree. If you agree, great. If you don't, that's fine as well. But these are the statements that you want to reflect on to see if you can reach those higher states of consciousness past the heart, okay? Can I be alone? Can I let go? Or I can be alone, excuse me. I can let go. I am self-God validated. I am secure. I feel abundance. I am abundance. Do you believe that? Do you know that that's true? I am love. Do you believe that? And do you know that that's true? Because knowing these things is going to determine how much of an awareness or how much of a connection we have to the higher consciousness of the throat, the third eye, and of the crown. Okay? Do you know these things through experience and with confidence? I can be alone. I can let go. I am God validated. I am secure. I feel abundance. I am love. Like that's those are the self checkpoints before you get into the higher consciousness of the upper chakras. Okay, you've done work on the lower chakras, right? You've learned to control your lower self, right? Those lower nature impulses. You've learned how to transmute that energy. Okay, now we're at the heart. How can I, ensure that once I get to this heart and start moving up in my awareness, I'm speaking from a place of love. I'm hearing from a place of love. I'm seeing from a perspective of love. And I'm knowing from a perspective of love. I'm not knowing just because I have knowledge and information and I've studied. I'm knowing because I have experience. I'm knowing because I've healed. I'm knowing because I'm aware. I can see past the physical reality. I can see the spiritual reality. I'm in tune with the spiritual reality. Again, back to psychic senses. I'm in tune with those things, so I know everything isn't what it seems, right? Okay? I can detach now. I can detach from the world and all the things that are happening that are chaotic because I know myself as a spiritual being having a human experience, right? I can detach from blaming people because I can see into the spiritual realm and I know that they're dealing with things that they may not be aware of. That doesn't mean that you excuse or allow people to treat you any old kind of way. It just means it's not the human because you can see from a higher consciousness, right? Again, the third eye just isn't knowing like what's going on in the world, you know what I mean, systemically, and it being open. It's you knowing and having an awareness and having experience with the spiritual world, the invisible reality, including the psychic senses. Okay, so before I go, I want to share this breathing thing for the heart chakra gateway, for opening up the heart chakra gateway. And I'll go over those statements again, all right? At the end, I'll go over them again. But what you want to do is you want to take a deep breath in your nose, okay? So and you see how my chest rose up? You want to hold it. And then release. Just open your mouth. Don't force the air out. Just open your mouth to let the air out. Okay? You deep breathe into your nose and into your chest. You just hold it for a few seconds to your own, discretion, okay? Use your own intuition on how you want to hold that for now. There's plenty of breathing practices and techniques that are out there. I would suggest that you find what works for you and makes sense for you as you're learning. But when you're doing this breathing exercise for your heart chakra, okay, you're doing it in a slow pace, all right? You may feel some tension or some shaking in your chest because, you may not be used to breathing that way. As a disclaimer, if you're having any breathing issues or lung issues, respiratory issues, do seek professional medical health care, okay, or your healthcare provider, okay? I'm not here to dismiss any of that. So if you're having any issues or you have issues, do that. But also this is just something to practice for a more spiritual practice and an energetic practice and understanding how to release energy and how to connect with energy in your body, specifically your breath, right? So again, those statements, right? So I'm gonna go over the statements. You have your breathing exercise or practice, all right? Again, deep breath through the nose, right? You breathe into the chest. And you just let the air go. You don't push it out. You don't exhale. You just open your mouth like a balloon. When you blow a balloon up and you let it go and the air come out, minus the noise that it makes, okay? You just let the air out. You don't force it out. You don't actually make an exhale. You just open your mouth and allow the air to be released, okay? This is a part of opening the heart chakra gateway. And those statements, again, you ask yourself from your lower consciousness, right? Those lower consciousness chakras, going through the gateway of the heart to get to the higher consciousness of your chakras. You say, I can be alone. I can let go. I am self and God validated. I am secure. I am abundance. I feel abundance. And I am love. Okay?